This Labor Day at Lowe's, shop member-only doorbuster deals for a limited time. Save $50 on an Ego string trimmer, now $169. Plus, get 50% off select Holland pavers. Not a rewards member? Sign up for free today. But hurry, Labor Day doorbuster deals won't last long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 9/1 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Okay. Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front of Moe, the save, they score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance, Patra right in on goal, he scores. Oh my, what a move by the rookie.
2-on-1, Pastrnak moving in with Marchand, get it to it, score!
The zone, Coyle dances in, backhand, score!
Lindholm right wing corner, Pastrnak is there, he scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston!
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. We are continuing our player profile series where we've been showcasing and spotlighting, highlighting the signings from free agency or through recent trades. Tonight, the target is going to be Sean Kuraly. But before we make our reintroduction into Sean Kuraly, I want to welcome in my co-host with the mostest, my host with the most, at Karoline with a K. Welcome in.
Thanks, Maria. Thank you. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. We're getting closer and closer to hockey-related activities starting up again. And with that in mind, we've brought back our BFF, Professor Moe. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you.
And we are going to spend a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit of time, folks, we are going to spend as little time as possible talking about Sean Kuraly returning to the Boston Bruins because of all the things and signings that happened during free agency. This one, I don't get. I don't get at all. So, by way of a reintroduction into Sean Kuraly, the Bruins signed him. He is signed for the 2025 through the 2027 season, 2 years, at $3.7 million with a 1.85 cap hit. And people may say, Maria, what are you bitching about? That's nothing. But I don't understand why we need him. I don't understand why we need him. Now, he was drafted 133rd overall by the Sharks in 2011. He originally came to the Bruins. He had his rights traded to the Bruins in 2015 as part of the Martin Jones deal, wherever Martin Jones is now. And he made his debut with the Bruins in the 2016-17 season. Played with the Bruins until 2021, where we all knew he had priced himself out of the market with the Boston Bruins. And so, got his bag of cash from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Good for him. Stayed with them till 2025. He became a veteran leader on that team. I believe he was also given a letter, wore an A, for the Blue Jackets. And he's coming back to the Bruins to bring veteran depth to the bottom six group. Please help me understand. Maria. Help me understand. Now, I will say, I'll give him a little bit of credit because I do remember going into the playoffs during that dreaded playoff season in 2019, where
previously the year we don't talk about,
we recently
superseded by the new year we don't talk about. Which was 2025.
I had concerns about Sean Kuraly, and there were some other younger players on the team who hadn't really had any NHL playoff experience. And to my surprise, he, along with others, performed better during that series against St. Louis than some of our veteran players who shall remain nameless did. But I'm just dumbfounded by the need to bring in veteran depth or more leadership. Again, it sounds like I got it in for him, and I don't. I just want to understand the scope and purpose of utilizing a roster spot for Sean Kuraly.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? Is the Bruins just do not give up any information as to anything about their team. Are players hurt? Do they have questions about Kostelik's health, right? Didn't he have concussion problems? And he was a fourth line center, and Kuraly's a fourth line center. Are the Bruins down on Beecher, who's a fourth line center? Is there really anybody in the system that could play fourth line center and still be an effective penalty killer? So it's one of those things where, as fans, we're wondering, like, why the fuck did they bring in Sean Kuraly? Where it's like, all right, maybe there's a reason and we just have to give it time. But I this was a head scratcher. Again, 2 years, kind of weird. I would have been all right with 1 year, a retool, some veteran presence, someone that knows the culture, knows the fans, is able to kind of help people get acclimated to the team. But again, his stats, his kind of, what he brings to this team, in my mind, makes him suited for a fourth line center role that is primarily penalty kill and maybe some kind of late in the game, kind of defensive zone help and structure. And in that kind of vein, maybe the Bruins have questions on their fourth line, their health. The penalty kill last year was pretty shitty. So they wanted to bring in someone maybe that is better when it comes to the penalty kill. So that's kind of where I'm looking for. And I'm kind of curious what you guys think.
Well, I do know that the Bruins were, at that time, when he had priced himself out of this market, they had a liking for this player and they wanted to keep him and knew that they couldn't afford him. Right. So
and
maybe
there was the COVID cap situation too. If folks don't remember that, they wanted to keep him, but they were really hamstrung money wise.
Right.
But his stats in Columbus are not awesome.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think they're awesome.
I think for me, when I heard about the signing, first of all, Maria, you have a much better memory of his time in Boston than I do, and I think that maybe says something about him. I mean, I certainly remember when he left, I was like, that's too bad, because I think I liked him. That's all I kind of really remember about him.
He's a hardworking player. Yeah. He gives you, he leaves it out there on the ice. I will give him that. And again, I myself too was a little bit like, well, that's too bad that the Bruins can't keep him. And I hope he does well in Columbus. Right.
So, I think
situation.
Ultimately, my initial reaction when I heard that he was coming back to Boston was, oh, that's nice. Like he's coming back to Boston, like nostalgia, whatever. And as I kind of sat with it and I looked at some of his stats that, Mo, you're going to kind of give us an education on, but I think he is, sounds horrible, more of a personality hire than anything, because think about it. He's clearly a veteran leader. It was formally recognized by Columbus. He got the letter. He took the team there through some very difficult times last season. Very challenging time to be a member of that team.
Yes.
And there currently is no warm, fuzzy Uncle Nick type for the bottom six. And while, yes, we have talked about, Tanner Jeannot also has a pretty good.
I was just going to say, isn't that what we signed?
However, the difference between him and Tanner Jeannot is that Kuraly's been in Boston. He's been a part of that culture. He knows that culture, not just the locker room culture, but what it means to play in the city of Boston. Because again, people talk about the microscope for sports media in cities like Toronto or Vancouver, but and Montreal and all of those Canadian cities. But when it comes to the United States, New York and Boston have some very unique sports media things going on. And I think that he can guide young guys similarly to potentially Tanner Jeannot, but in the ways of this is what it's like to be a part of this in the city of Boston. It's the city of champions. Like, it's got its own history that he is very, very familiar with. And I think that that's ultimately the role that he's expected to play. If that means he gets scratched a lot, but that's doesn't mean that he isn't part of the team. It doesn't mean that he's, not allowed to practice. He's there on the ice, practicing with these young guys, giving them advice, being there. So ultimately, I think that, as ingracious as it sounds, he's a personality.
I know. And you know what? This is like, the money is the money.
The money is nothing. Yeah.
The money is nothing. I don't know, from your perspective, Mo, have you looked at, his, did he play on the PK in during his time in Columbus?
Yeah, he I think averaged almost a minute a game, which in penalty kill time is good. That's kind of what you're looking for. And one other thing that he's not terrible at, again, is faceoffs. So last year his faceoff percentage was 54%. So not bad. Before that, dipped a little bit in the 40s, but his last year in Boston, he was 57% faceoffs, 229 faceoffs, won out of 170 losses, so a decent chunk. So again, that's kind of where I see him being that fourth line kind of center guy. What he does well is he does a good job at puck retrievals, defensive exits. Those metric scores are better than league average, which again is good for when you're starting in your defensive zone late in games, late in periods. I think we all remember how much the Bruins suck at the end of the period. So hopefully we can, again, if he helps there, then it's worth it, in my opinion. He still does have decent speed and a decent motor. He can still get pretty fast, 23 mile an hour. Doesn't really use his speed that often, but he compared to the league in basically like kind of skating distance. He's in the 70th percentile, so he skates around more. So he still has that kind of high motor, high speed, which again lends himself well to a bottom six. So that is something he has going for him. And something he also does pretty well is recover dump ins. So again, he's got a higher than average Z score for that. So again, I think the Bruins will probably do a mix of dump and chase and hopefully some controlled entries, where if he gets paired with the right players, depending, again, this is someone that isn't as big and heavy as Jeannot, but can play that same kind of style. So again, getting back to more big bad Bruins, this is kind of their way of doing it. Where he struggles, he's not really an offensive player, right? Low average in goals.
He's a center, so all right.
I mean, I know, but you got to do better than what I'm seeing here with what
6
is it?
goals,
17 points in his last, I mean.
Yep. Not great. Something we all kind of know a little bit about is shot contributions. His shots per 60 is below league average. His chances per 60 is below league average, and his total shot contributions is all below league average. So again, a guy that's not going to shoot a lot, but if you're that first man in, kind of using your body, using your speed to retrieve the puck, I'm okay if you don't have more shots. I think
question.
Yeah.
Quick question. So earlier this year, when we had you on to talk about what the different jobs are for forwards and stuff. We talked a lot about, what is a fourth line, what are fourth line forwards supposed to do for their job, right? So thinking about, again, a fourth line center and their particular roles, is Kuraly fulfilling a version of, and we'll get to if it's an acceptable version or not, but a version of what a fourth line center can and should do? Is he even, is he fulfilling a job description? And then is it the kind of job that we want to see on the Bruins? Like you can be a fourth line center and maybe execute that in a number of different ways. Is his flavor an actual job of a fourth line center, or is he really not doing what he's supposed to be doing? I guess I'm trying to understand in that context of, again, what is a fourth line player supposed to be doing, really, right?
Right. Yeah, so it's all going to depend on the coach and their philosophy, and I would say where the team's at. Sometimes for me, you can use that slot for a developing guy, but that would be more in like kind of a rebuild. This is more of a retool, so I still think the Bruins can be decent and make some thunder. So for me, a fourth line center should be defensively minded. I'm not too concerned about the offense that he generates. So 6 goals, 8 goals, 10 goals, somewhere in that range is going to be fine for me. The biggest thing is win your faceoffs, especially in your defensive zone. And I want you to be probably the top penalty killer, right? I want you to be out there if there's a penalty, when Zadorov takes a penalty or Jeannot takes a penalty, I want you over the boards right away taking that draw. That will allow, the other guys probably, Lindholm maybe to get a little bit more offensive play time. That should allow Zacha maybe a little bit less kind of stress back there. But my fourth line guys, that center needs to be the penalty kill specialist.
Yeah.
Now that we don't have Bergeron, we don't have Marchand, we need that guy to step up. And I think that's kind of where Kuraly fits. And I don't know how many guys on the free agency market kind of fit this bill. But maybe he can kind of go and show Beecher some tips and tricks to make him become that new kind of penalty kill specialist that I was kind of hoping he could be. But yes, I think he fits. I think he fits that fourth line center role pretty well, as long as he can kind of keep up with the younger kids and kind of the younger NHL, which feels a little bit more skilled. And so
the game is
time will tell.
To evolve.
So where does that leave Mark Kastelik?
It's gonna. I'm still wondering if he maybe still is going to deal with some injury problems, or this is an insurance policy. If he does,
Makes sense.
It's again one of those things where Boston just does not release a whole bunch of information, and we're just kind of filling in the gaps, and you never know. I mean, the Bruins
and I think
players that dealt with concussion problems, so having someone that can fill in or slot in, slot out, depending who they play, it's not a bad thing to have too many bottom sixes. But when your whole team, like last year, was all bottom sixes, then it's bad. But if you've got 7 or 8 guys that can kind of go back and forth, that's okay.
Well, and I like your kind of comment about, is he also really an insurance policy in this aspect? Because Boston really struggled with a lot of injuries at a lot of really inopportune time. And I think, Kuraly aside, if you're kind of thinking about it from that perspective, that insurance policy, you want to make sure that whoever you have who can step up and fill in is at least typical or average in that position. And so, while you were talking about them being a penalty kill specialist as that position requires, one of my favorite stats to also always look up for players who are in more defensively focused roles is the defensive point shares. And so like a typical average DPS would be anywhere from a 0.5 to a 1. And that's exactly where he slots in. He's at a 0.7. So, I mean, that is good enough for me in that regard, at least, because again, he's a center. You have to be a little bit more defensively minded. You need to make sure that, you're doing that piece at least somewhat averagely, if that's a word. And it seems like maybe, and if he comes with, again, that added bonus of the warm fuzzies, which is something that the team hasn't had since 2 years, right? The departure of a couple of warm fuzzies. So
He was a fan favorite too, so we'll see.
I know he was. And I know, and again, I enjoyed watching him play when he was here. And, it sounds like I'm, talking out of both sides of my mouth, but it just seems to me that when you're acknowledging that you're doing a retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it on a, day-to-day basis, that, Sean Kuraly is not someone that fits into the rebuild of the future of your team.
Right. A retool implies aggressive maneuvers and interventions, and he is not that.
Right.
Right.
I'd almost say like the Arvidsson trade was an aggressive retool move.
Yeah.
Trying to go out low risk, high reward. I mean, this is kind of low risk, low reward. I would classify meh.
Right.
It's a meh.
Right.
It was almost like, okay, he's there. We know him.
Low effort, low impact.
We can get him at a bargain.
Yep.
Let's just sign him. Why not?
Yep.
Type of thing.
And again,
right?
Maria, I think you even said it perfectly just now that he was a fan favorite. My initial reaction again was, that's nice. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, that's something nice that I remember from the before times. Yep. And so perhaps it's also a little bit of an effort to kind of get us to forget about how mad we are at the great sin that they committed in March, right? So some of that, I think, is also very much so part of it, to get people to be like, I remember those days.
You could be right. You could be right. Yep. Who knows what the motivation is? It just, again, it seems to me when you only have so many roster spots and know that you're in a cycle of trying to get yourself, claw your way back into the conversation in the Eastern Conference. And then again, as one of the better teams in the league again at some point in time, that, you might be looking at alternatives, and maybe there were no other alternatives.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, low cost. So, okay. Yeah.
If at worst, he increases the beer sales because no one wants to watch him play. So let's see.
There you go. Well,
wow.
That's Sean
Welcome
Kuraly.
home, Sean. Welcome home. We'll roll out the red carpet for you.
Don't let the door hit you on the way in. I don't know.
Or maybe you'll
not
be
going to hold the door open.
I don't know. Maybe you'll be manning the door, or maybe you'll be manning the elevator button on the 8th floor. Who the hell knows what will happen this season?
He'll be standing there, think it's an automatic door, and just wait for it to open. Just stand there.
Oh. And that's when people will say, it's a good thing you're pretty.
He's got good hair.
He does have good flow. He does have good flow. He does have good flow, so that will count for something. But with that said, folks, please thank you for listening. Please give us a rating, review, subscription if you so desire. Let us know your thoughts. You can shoot us thoughts and opinions on Twitter, on Substack, in our Discord group. And with that, any closing thoughts, my friends?
Go Bees.
Go Bees.